Now the moment we have all been waiting for, the assembly portion of our Gracie Doll tutorial. So you don't need your accessories for this part, so I'm just going to set these aside. You do need your front and back pieces of your Gracie Doll and all of your limbs and your buns. So that is everything we're going to need to assemble our Gracie Doll. Also, you're going to need your stuffing and your f 3.75 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, so this would be my first time teaching anyone how to do this. I'm going to try to make it as plain talk as I can. Okay, take 3. We are going to start putting our front piece of our Gracie Doll right side up. Then we're going, you can tell it's the right side because all of these tails are on the wrong side. We're just going to leave those hanging out right side up. Then we have our back piece, and it's going to be wrong side up. So this is the right side because you can see the color changes are very clean. They're a little messier on the wrong side. So this is the wrong side up, right side up, wrong side up. That way our two right sides are touching each other on the inside. So that should help you there. Now, all of our scrap yarn that we left attached to the back piece of our body will be on the right, as in not the left side of our work. And this piece is going to be used for seaming up the back. So I'm just going to set that there out of the way. And I want to give you a quick overview of what you can expect for attaching all of our body parts. The 2 legs are going to go down here at the bottom, toes facing in. They're going to be down here, 4 stitches in from the sides. So 4, then 6 stitches to attach the legs, and then there'll be 5 stitches in the middle. The arms are going to take up 5 stitches, and it's going to be the last 5 right here before we get to the neck. So the last 5 stitches, we're going to start down here, seaming up the side, crocheting up the side, and then the last 5 stitches, we're going to attach our arms. And then the buns are going to be these 6 stitches right here. So the flat part of our head and then the angle, this is going to go on the last 6 stitches before we get to the flat part, and that's going to be on both sides. I know that seems complicated and overwhelming, but it's okay because we're going to do it here together all on camera, so no big deal. Grab your f 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, and we are going to start down here with our white yarn, and I'm going to pull that loop up that I left with my stitch marker, insert my hook, get the stitch marker out of here, and now I can un-rubber band this little ball. And again, this is just my method to keep me from having to sew in so many tails. There's still a lot of tails, but this is 4 less tails by doing this. Okay, so now we are going to start to crochet these 2 sides together, and it is the raw side of our work, so we have to make our own spots for our hook to go, and the end of this row is going to be single crocheted into the end of this row, and then they're all going to line up. You'll be able to get a little bit of an idea about what your stitches, your spaces should look like. So we're going to do it here on camera. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. So we're going to insert our hook into the side of our stitch. Okay, and then we're going to insert our hook into the side of this row. It's going to be like this little, I'm going to show you the first one's always weird, but I'm going to show you what to look for after this. And that's where we're going to place our single crochet. So we're lining up each of the same rows from the 2 different pieces with each other. And we're going to single crochet them together. Just like that. And our next stitch is going to look like a hole. You see how that kind of looks like a hole? That's where I'm going to insert my hook. And then this one should look like a bar. See those 2 bars? That's where I'm going to insert my hook. So holes and bars always pair up with each other. I can explain that why to you. If you would like to know, just send me a DM and I will tell you why. But I'm not going to confuse everybody else for no reason. So next, we just went through a hole. So now there should be a bar. Here's our bar. We're going to go right here into this bar. And then look for our hole. There it is. That's where we're going to insert our hook. And this is our third single crochet. So that's 3. Hole, bar, 4, bar, hole, 5, hole, bar, 6, bar, hole, 7, hole, bar, 8. Okay, and we're just going to keep going. And I'll tell you how many stitches we're going to do when I get there. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, oops, 18. Okay, let me see how many spots I have left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I have 6 spots left. So we have 18 single crochets up this side of our doll. Now I'm going to insert my hook into the bar of the next stitch, but I'm not going to go into the hole of this back piece just yet. I'm going to grab one of my arms. Okay, I'm going to fold it in half or squish it in half where the tail is on the side. I'm going to go ahead and look at these stitches and see how they're going to be lined up. So these two are together, these two are together. Sorry, these two, 2, 2, 2, and 2. So this one and the slip stitch is going to be my first. Can you see that that was the slip stitch that I did? I'm going to put my hook into this space and this space right now. So bar, get all this out of the way, and my arm is going to go on the inside of our doll body, okay? Not like this, like this. Then I'm going to go into that space where the slip stitch was, then into the first single crochet right there, then into the hole over here that lined up with the body. Okay, so we're through 4 stitches now, and that's where we're going to place our single crochet. Just leave this tail hanging out. Actually, I'm going to put it under my working yarn, but it doesn't matter. Just leave it hanging out. We're going to sew all of our tails in at the very end. I'm going to go ahead and place 1 single crochet here. Pull it nice and tight. That's 1. We have 6 total single crochets to attach our arm, and then it will be up here time. So we're going to go into a hole now because that was in a bar. Hole, then the next 2 stitches that pair up together. See that? And then we're looking for a bar. There's our bar. Okay, that's where we're going to place our single crochet. Pull it nice and tight. And place our single crochet. That's 2. Bar. Then the 2 stitches in the arm that pair up with each other, and then a hole right here. Okay, easy peasy. Pull it tight. That's 3. Is that 3 or 4? That's 4. 2 more. Hole. 2 of the single crochets, and we got those 2 left. So that's exactly right. Looking for a bar. Here it is. And then single crochet all those together. Pull it tight. 1 more. Bar. Do the single crochets. then we have a hole. Okay. So it looks like I miscounted, and there's still one stitch left for our arm, like the body. So the one stitch left, but I'm gonna look at this and see how it looks. I think that's gonna look fine. You can see here, this is how it's gonna be on that. This is the right side now, and that's how the arm is attached via single crochet instead of sewing it on. But since I still have one space left up here, you can see that there's one hole and bar left of white before I get to the head area. So that's fine. I'm just going to make sure to do that on the other side. If you want your arms to be directly up to the neck, you can just do 19 single crochets before you start attaching. But I think this looks fine just as it is. So I'm going to keep going. This is the hole. Then we've got a bar. Okay. But I'm not going to finish this stitch. So I'm just going to start it, and then I'm going to switch colors. So I'm going to start my stitch, and then I'm going to switch colors to my skin tone color. You have to forgive me, I'm shaking a little bit. I don't know why. But I'm going to use this skin tone tail. You could use either one of these. This one is the one that's closest to my work. I'm going to finish out this single crochet with this skin tone tail right here. Okay, and now I've got 2 stitches of skin tone. So we've got into the space. It's a little weird to see for the skin tone because of our decreases for the head. So you just kind of eyeball it as best you can, and you'll get into a good rhythm. That's actually going to go right there. So I went into and then into this for my neck area. Sorry. And that's where I'm going to place my single crochet. Pull it tight. Okay, then I'm going to single crochet right there, and we got one more skin tone stitch, but this time we're going to switch to our hair color, which is this guy. So into the skin tone color, then in right here. Trying to see if I'm looking for a bar or a hole. I think this is a hole. So I'm going to be looking for a bar on the second side, but it's a little weird because there are decreases. So just kind of eyeball it and make it as best you can. And then start the single crochet, but don't finish it. Grab your purple or your hair colored yarn and finish that single crochet out. Now we are going to join up the head until we get to the part that we have to attach our bun. And the bun is the last. That's why, because I counted out 6 and I only needed to count out 5. That's why there was an extra one. My bad. Anyway, if that doesn't make any sense to you, just ignore that bit of information. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to single crochet these 2 pieces together using my purple yarn, my hair colored yarn. And then the last 6 stitches I'm going to leave open for sticking my bun and attaching it. So let's just start counting and see how many we have. And I can go ahead and take this off. And I need to cut my white yarn because I will be using it again. So just cut it, leaving a tail that's long enough for sewing in. Set it aside. We'll use it back down the other side of our dress here in a minute. So I'm going to go into this first purple stitch, and then we're going to still be in skin tone for a little bit for the rest of our face. That's 1. Okay. So this, I think, is considered a hole. Sorry, it's so hard to see. And then a bar. Let's go right here. That's 2. And we have a bar. I'm looking for a hole. There we go. That's 3. Hole. Bar. That's 4. Bar. Oop. Bar. Hole. That's 5 whole bar. Okay, that's 6 bar. And then we should have a hole over here. But it's weird because of the decreases. I know I've said that. I think this is our hole right here. That's 7 whole bar. That's 8 bar hole. That's 9. And I'm just going to take a look-see, making sure everything's looking good, because sometimes I can get my head uneven because of the decreased stitches. It throws me off. So we're at 9. So far, so good. Okay, whole bar. That's 10 bar hole. That's 11 whole bar. That's 12. I might have to take that one out. Let's see how many we got left. 12. Okay, and that was a hole. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then that one's going to be left unworked. That's the plan. So there's 6 spaces left. I'm going to take one of my buns, smush it in half. And let's just start again with where the tail comes out. It's a good little place to start. So make sure our stitches are going to line up with each other. So let's say in this stitch and this stitch is going to be where we put our first one, and then let's just make sure the rest of them pair up together. Those two, those two, those two, those two. See, they do not. You see how there's 3 left? They do not pair up together. So that one needs to be paired with this one. Sometimes the slip stitches throw me off. So if those 2 were paired together, let's make sure the rest of them line up. 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. So good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So this is where we're going to put our hook for our first bun single crochet join. So back into our work over here, into the bar, then into the bun where we've got our little placeholder, into the second part of the bun where we got our little placeholder. Okay, take that out. And then we got a hole back here that we needed to find. Now we can place our single crochet right there, going through all 4 of those pieces. Single crochet, pull it tight. That's 1. Next is a hole. Then we've got the next 2 single crochets that do not have a stitch in them, and then a bar. Okay, that's 2. Then I make the single crochet. Okay, there we go. That's 2. Into the bar. Okay, then into the stitches. Here and there we go. Oh, sorry, so sorry. Into the stitches, then into the hole. 4 stitches, that's where we're going to place our single crochet. Pull it tight. That's 3. Hole, stitch, stitch, bar. That's where we're going to put our 4th single crochet. Pull it tight. 4, bar, stitch, stitch, hole, That's 5. And then the last one should be a hole right there. Stitch, stitch, and then a bar. There we go. And that's our our 6th single crochet for our bun. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this out of my way. There we go. Now we're going to single crochet across the straight part of our head. And I think that was 13 stitches, wasn't it? Yep, so we're going to single crochet across the straight part of our head, just matching the stitches for 13 single crochets. So into our first stitch, and then our first stitch over here. We're going to do 13 single crochets. That's 1. Second, and second, that's 2. Here we go. And here we go, that's 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13. Then we're going to attach our second bun in these first 6 stitches back down the other side of our head. Grab my second bun and squish it in half. And let's make sure we've got our stitches lined up. So if this is our first stitch, let's see if the rest of them line up together. 1, 2, 3, 4. They do not. See that? I did it again. There's 3 down here. There should just be 2. So this one needs to go into here. We go. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Perfect. We're going to go in, that's out of the way. We're going to go into, let's see, a bar first. So into the bar, into where our placeholder is. Okay, I got to take that out of there, but just pay attention to where it's going. Here and here. Okay, get that needle out of the way. And then into a hole is what we're looking for. And just, okay, should be this hole right here. So that's what we got. I know it's hard to see, especially when it's all the same color. And there's tails in the way, but... Okay, so get those 2 tails out of the way, and that's where we're going to place our first single crochet. Pull it nice and tight. That's 1. Now we have a hole, stitch, stitch, bar. That's 2. Okay, bar, stitch, stitch, hole. That's 3. Hole, stitch, stitch, bar. It's 4. Pull tight. Bar, stitch, stitch, hole. 5, and then we have 1 more, and our bun will be attached. Hole, right? Yep, hole, stitch, stitch, bar. Now our 6th single crochet and our bun is attached. There we go. Now we're going to continue to single crochet the 2 head pieces together until we get to the neck, switch to our neck color, then 1 stitch with our white, and then we're going to attach our second arm. So bar and a hole, place a single crochet, that's 1, we'll just count them together, hole, bar, that's 2, bar, hole, that's 3, hole, bar, 4, bar, hole, 5, hole, bar, 6, bar, hole, 7, hole, bar, 8, bar, hole. Let me just make sure it gets weird where the decreases are. Yep, hole, 9. We're almost to our neck. So I'm not sure what this is, but I'm just going to place another stitch here. I don't think that's a bar or a hole space because it's where decreases are. The main thing is that you just get it nice and secure. So if you've got an extra stitch, it's okay. We're not lining up anything for this part, so it doesn't have to be symmetrical. Okay, so now we've got a hole. Let's look for a bar. The decreases, things get weird. Okay, bar and a hole. And then a hole. And a bar down here. Okay, I think, let me see. Yeah, this is going to be where we switch to our skin tone. So I'm going to not finish that out. And I should have 2 stitches with my skin tone yarn. Is that my tail? Yeah. So using this tail that's already here, finish out that stitch. And then we have 2 stitches in our little neck area. That's 1, nice and tight. And then 2, but in this one we're going to switch to our white, this ball of white that we have left over. So neck, okay, and don't finish out the stitch, leave that there. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that so I don't forget, and pick up our white yarn. Okay, finish out the stitch, and then we have 1 stitch over here before we attach our arm. So we've got a bar first, and then a hole, which is really close to the tan yarn. But that's where we're going to place our first single crochet. And then, sorry, this is giving me fits. Single crochet, and now we're looking for a hole. And then we're going to go through our arm, and then we're going to go through this bar down here. So let's grab our second arm, smush it, line up the stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, perfect. Into the arm stitch, into the arm stitch, and then into the bar that we were looking for. Okay, 4 stitches, and again, it's on the inside of our work, not the outside. See that? She's hiding inside the mess of crochet right now, and then when you flip it out right side out, it's going to be like magic. Make sure you got the right tail. Here we go, working yarn. That's 1. There should be 5 total. Remember, I miscounted over here. That's why I have the extra stitch before the arm. So that's 1 bar, stitch, stitch, hole. See that? I don't know if you can hear that outside, but it is thundering. Pull it tight. That's 2 hole, stitch, stitch, bar, bar. Lord have mercy. Okay, bar. This is 3, 2 more, bar, stitch, stitch, hole. That's 4, and then hole, stitch, stitch, bar. That's 5. And then we're going to single crochet back down this side. for 18 stitches because we did 18 on this side, then our 5, then our 1, then our head. So back down this way, 18 stitches. And you can go ahead and cut off this yarn, by the way. The purple, we're done with the hair yarn. Just leave yourself a long enough tail to sew in. Now we've got 18 stitches, bar, hole, that's 1, bar, hole, 17, and then the last hole is kind of a weird one because it's like your chain up one. So hole and bar for 18. 18. Now we are to the bottom of our dress, and this is where we're getting ready to put in our legs. But we're at the corner, and so we just put 18 and now that was the side of our single crochet. So we're going to put 2 stitches into the top of this single crochet. So into the stitch, into the top of the stitch, we're going to put 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets just to kind of help round out that corner really nicely. And then we have 3 more single crochets before we grab our leg. So 1, then 2, then 3. Okay, then we grab our leg, and we have 6 stitches to attach our leg. We want the toes pointing in because they're going to go in towards each other like this. So squish it closed, line up the stitches. Can you see that? Now I'm going to go into the stitch down here and just kind of pull these arms out of your way, okay? We're going to go into the stitch, and this is nice too because it is actual stitches and you're not working on the raw side like we were over here. Into the stitch, then into the spot that we marked with our needle. And I can take out my needle now that I know which spaces I need to be using, and then into the stitch. Okay, and our leg is going to fall inside of our baby body. Pull that tail out because we'll sew it in here in a minute. And place our single crochet, pull it tight. That's 1. This is 2. And then into these 2, and then into the stitch over here. 2, into the space, leg, leg, space. That's 3. Here we go. Sometimes it's hard for me to not put 2 in the same spot. That's 4. Here we go. 2 more. Here we go. This is 5. Pull it tight. And last one for 6. 1 into those 2 stitches. And 6. Here we go. That leg is now attached. Nice and good. Okay, now we're going to single crochet 5 stitches. So there's going to be 5 in between our 2 legs. Then we're going to attach our second leg. Then there should be 4. We'll put 2 in the corner and then we'll be done. So let's single crochet here. 1 and 1. Then 2 and 2. Now this 3, 4, and 5 is going to be with this other piece of our slip here. So this is 3, the first stitch on the second slip. 3, that's our tail. Okay. Then 4 and 4, and then we have 5 and 5. Now we have 6. The next 6 stitches are going to be our leg. So we're going to take our leg, make sure the toes are pointing in, because this is inside the body, right? Once we got our toes pointed in, we can squish our leg. Now this time, this is going to be our last single crochet. So I'm going to use my trusty needle here to mark off my first spot. That way I know my leg is in the right way. Okay, set that aside. We're going to go into our first stitch right here. Yep, into our first stitch. Then we're going to put our leg into, I'm going to zoom out for this. She looks like a mess right now. She's all contorted, but she's going to be perfect when we get her done. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up a loop. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick my leg down into this hole, toes still pointed inward, and pull it out the crack between the 2 slits. And just kind of leave it there for a second. Pick up my loop again. Then we're going to go into the slip, then into where we've marked our thing with our needle, then into the second stitch, pull out that needle, and then back into the slip, but we want to make sure it's not got a stitch in it already, so it's going to go right here. See? That's how we're going to attach our second leg. And grab our yarn, pull it tight. Single crochet. That's 1. 5 more. Into the slip. Then the leg, and the slip. That's 2. Leg, slip. Okay. That's 3. Leg, slip. That's 4. Okay. Leg, slip. 5. And then we have 1 more. Slip. And then it's going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to pull up a loop and then get a better hold of my last piece of my leg. Go back into my, so slip, and then into the leg stitch number 1, and then leg stitch number 2. Okay. And then into the slip right here. There we go. And our 6th single crochet will go right there. Pull it tight. Then you can get that tail out of the way, the skin tone tail. Now we have 4 single crochets left for joining our slip together. 1. Let me get that out of the way. 1. 2, 2, 3, 3, and then the 4th one is where we're going to put 2 single crochets. We're going to put 2 single crochets right there in that last spot, just for the corner. 1, 2, join into the top of the first assembly single crochet we did when we started on the right side of our body. And then you can cut your yarn. Woo! We are almost done, guys. Tie off, pull it tight. Now we get to sew in all of these super fun tails, except for this one. Do not sew in this longest one because we need this for seaming up the back, I'm going to go off camera and sew in all of these tails. Be sure you don't accidentally sew your body piece onto one of your buns. Like when you're sewing in your tail, make sure you don't attach your bun to a weird part of your head. We want our buns to stick out nicely, and if you attach it accidentally, it will be kind of like this. So be careful about that when you are sewing in your tails. I'm going to do all of those off camera, and then I will come back and flip her right side out for the big reveal. Okay, I have sewn in all of my tails. Here's my lovely scrap yarn. And all that's left is this big long tail, which we need to not be sewn in. But let's flip our beautiful contorted Gracie doll right side out and get a look-see at how she turned out. And I'm a nervous wreck. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to start by popping that out. And then that. And using my finger to kind of push out the corners. And then I'm going to pop out one of her buns, pull it through, grab another bun, pull it through, and then continue to flip her right side out. Okay, ta-da! Here is our Gracie doll. So far, so good. Okay, and her toes are pointed inward, so cute. Now I'm just going to run my finger around the inside of the head here just to make sure everything is pooched out and where it's supposed to be. Okay, there you go. How cute! Ugh, perfect. Then we're going to stuff her, sew up her back, embroider her face, add her accessories, and she is good to go. Ugh, so cute. Okay, so we're gonna flip her over and start stuffing her head. And I like to peel like thin pieces of stuffing, not big chunks. I think it helps it stuff more evenly. But I'm just gonna start stuffing that in there. And then you might need to kind of shape her a little bit to give her like cheek definition, and like a neck definition, so she doesn't look like a thumb baby. And I like to stuff mine pretty full. And just kind of move it around on the inside with your fingers. Stretch her out around the stuffing. Make sure you fill in all the nooks and crannies. Oh, she's so beautiful. See her little cheekbones, her jawbones. This is much easier to do off camera. I think we can add more stuffing, because if the more stuffing you add, the bigger she's gonna look. I think we can add some more. But that's personal preference. If you add too much, she's gonna get really holy, and you'll be able to see the stuffing through the stitches. So you just want to be careful. I'm going to continue stuffing my head, and then I will come back. Okay, now that I have her head stuffed, I'm going to do a few seaming stitches here in the back with my tapestry needle, and then continue to stuff like her neck and down her body, and seam and stuff and seam and stuff. So I just use a whip stitch for this, closing up the seam. I don't consider this sewing, I consider this seaming. Okay, and I'm going to do one more and then start stuffing again. Whoop. And I'm just going to continue to seam and stuff the entire body of our little Gracie doll. Whoops, sorry, zoom back out. Okay. The arms and legs are already stuffed, so we don't have to do those. It's just her body. And am going to continue to seam and stuff. Make sure you shove some stuffing down here into the corners of her dress once you get closer to this spot, and then I will come back and we can tie off here on camera. Okie dokie, I just stuffed and finished seaming up my Gracie doll. Now I'm just going to give her some adjusting, a little massage, so all of her stuffing can fall into the right nooks and crannies. Okay, here's what we got. She's looking great. Now we can tie off down here at the very bottom. Close it up, just so it doesn't come undone. And then I like to tie a little knot a couple times and then just sew in my tail like normal. Okay. And sew in my tail very quickly. And then we can embroider our face on to our Gracie doll. And you're going to need a piece of your skin color and this tapestry needle for starting. We're going to start with the nose. And I also like to use like 6 sewing pins for embroidering the face on, and I will show you why here in a second. Now, going to grab a big old piece of skin color. Okay, so we're going to start off with her nose. Let me show you what we're going for. This is what we're going for. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of skin color left. That's where I'm putting my nose. And I just put a sewing pin where the approximate center is. And the nose is going to go over these 3 stitches. So the one in the middle and then 2 on either side. That's where we're going to put our nose. Thread my skin tone yarn onto my tapestry needle. Now I'm going to go in from way over here just so that it's out of my way. And then I'm going to come back out right in the center. I'm going to zoom in for you. Right in the side of one of my off-center stitches. So we go 1, 2, 3 stitches, kind of going right onto the outer side of that stitch. I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy out. Okay, that's where we're going to pull our needle through. Leave a tail long enough for sewing in over here. Now 1, 2, 3 across and then back into the outer side of this stitch is where we're going to put our needle. So we're going to go in 1, 2, 3 and then back out over here just like that. Pull it all the way through, and you don't want it to be extremely tight here because then it'll pucker, so you just want it to be flush. And then back, and you're just going to keep going in this side and out this side until you get your nose the size that you want it to be. Just really gently covering up little cracks as we go. You may need to make some adjustments to make it look more centered. We're just doing the best we can. It is handmade. And her part isn't centered exactly, so that should help kind of like create the illusion. See, I feel like her nose is a little bit over this way. So I'm just gonna kind of add some more on this side to make it kind of go a little bit more the other way. Okay, now I think one more ought to do it, and then so I'm going to go in to the same side that I've been going in, but I'm going to come out in this same stitch. See how this is coming out of like an actual hole between stitches? It's not in between a stitch or anything like that. It's a nice little hole right there. That's where I'm going to push my needle back out at. Okay, perfect. Now to tie off, I'm going to put a knot in these two strings. So like this, and hold it so it's kind of down closer to her face. And then I'm going to make them the same size approximately. Gonna use my big honkin' tapestry needle to push it through and hide it into the body of her head. And we go right into that same stitch where the yarn is coming out through all of the stuffing, and then pop it out the back, just like that. And then when you pull it through, it's gonna hide way down in there. And you can just gently tug the tails back here. Give it a nice tug, and then pull and snip, and it disappears into all the fluffy stuff in her head. There we go. That is her nose. Now we can get started on her eyes. First, I like to mark off where I want them to go with these pins. Okay, so here's what we got for her eyes. I went into the stitch, like 2 stitches over from her nose. 1, 2 in, and then 1, 2 in the stitch, and then skip 1, 2 into the 3rd stitch. See? 1, 2 into the 3rd, and then 1, 2 rows up between 2 stitches. That's where the center point of her eyes are gonna go. And her eyes are just these little hoops, little heels with some lashes. I will do one of them with you guys here on camera, then I will do the other one off camera for the sake of time. I will be using black embroidery thread. You could also use fingering weight yarn or crochet thread if you've got it, which I do not. So it's better to have too much than not enough. I'm going to give yourself plenty of room to work with. Probably like 2 feet, maybe. Now I'm going to use my tapestry needle. I'm going to get a little baby one. I keep changing up all the tapestry needle sizes on you guys. So I'm going to use this little baby tapestry needle. Now we're going to start here and hump around to this way. So I'm going to go in right here, kind of off from that first spot, and I'm going to come out right here. So I'm going to lift that up. And notice again, I'm going just in the middle of a hole here, not in between any actual stitches. And then out the center of that stitch where my sewing pin is. Take out my sewing pin and pull through. Leave a longish tail over here because we're going to use it for sewing in, just like we did with the skin tone for the nose. Now we are going to embroider her eyes, and I can't remember what this stitch is called, but it is an embroidery stitch. So I'm going to go back into the base where that string is coming out, very close to it. Back down into the body, and then I'm going to come out just a smidgen away from it, and then kind of pull that through slowly, and you can see I'm making a loop, but I'm going to put this through the loop like so, and pull it tight but very, very gently. And that's our first little stitch for our eye. And then I'm going to go again, and the goal is to go straight up but then kind of at a curve once you get near the top. It's very hard to do on camera, so I'm just going to put this to the side so I can see what I'm doing here. Then into the stitch right at where it's coming out of already, where that string is coming out, and then back up a little bit for the width of my stitch. Okay, Then I'm just going to lay this loop behind my needle head, and that will make it into a loop. There you go. That's 2. I'm going to do another one. Pull that string to the side, go back into where it's coming out of, go a little bit further up for the length of your stitch, and then wrap this thread around the needle tippy, pull it through. Okay, now the next one I'm going to kind of angle it in to get ready to hump around. So I'm going to go back into the base, but when I pooch out, this time I'm going to come out slightly at an angle instead of straight up like I was doing. So slightly out at an angle, making sure to get in between the yarn fibers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of the way. Wrap my embroidery thread around the needle and then pull it through, pulling it in the direction I need the stitch to go. So like that. Now I'm going to go this way with my embroidery thread, back into the same spot, and then out a little bit, wrap this behind the needle, pull it through. I'm going to do another one across the top like this. Now if you see that your embroidery thread is starting to get twisted, just let it dangle. I know that's hard to see on camera, but flip your baby over, let it dangle down and let it untwist. You can kind of run your fingers over it to make it untwist a little bit, but then that helps with the twisting. Okay, back into where the base of that one's coming out. Give it a little bit of some width. Go under the hook, under the needle. Pull it through. Okay, now I'm going to make my angled back down one, and we're going back down to this sewing pin. So I'm just going to give her a little turn into, and then back out, this time at an angle. There we go. Can you tell that that's at an angle instead of going straight? Wrap my embroidery thread around the back of my needle, pull it through, and then pull it in the direction that I want it to be going. So I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit, and then now I'm gonna keep going back down to this pin. There we go. Now it's time to do her eyelashes. So I'm going to go on, like, see how that's looped around? I'm going to go into the body of her head, like on the outside of that loop. So I'm kind of like nailing it down right here. And then I'm going to pop back out at the base of this side. You can see that? The base of this part of her eye, like the very tippy bottom point, and pull it through. Okay, now we can make her 3 little eyelashes. And I just like to make them going straight out, about 1 single crochet's width, maybe a little bit more. So I'm going to go down into here because that's where I want it to go, and then I'm going to pop it back out the top of this row. So I'm going to go down into here and then pop it back out about right there, because that will be my top eyelash and this is my bottom eyelash, and then I will put one in the middle. So pull that through gently. Okay, there we go. Now this one is my top eyelash. I'm going to line it up with this bottom one down here. So that's where it's going to go in, and it's going to come out between the 2 eyelashes for my middle eyelash. Right here. Perfect. Can you guys see that? I know it's hard with the black. And pull it gently. If you pull it too fast, you're going to get caught. If you pull it too tight, you're going to get buckled. It's an art. Okay, and then our last one is going to go into the body of my head, right here, lined up with my other two eyelashes. So I just kind of eyeball it. Eyeball it. And then go into the body of the head, but I'm going to come out over here where this tail was coming out of. And again, not in any stitches, just out of the hole between the stitches. Okay. There we go. Ta-da! Now, if you need to tighten any of your eyelashes, you can do that. Just remember what order they go in and which direction pulls which eyelash. Okay? Now I'm going to put a knot over here just like I did with the nose string, and then pull it and hide it into the body of our doll. And then using my big old tapestry needle, go back down into that same hole where the stitches are coming out of and hide it inside some stuffing. Pull it out the back, gently, gently, gently. Looking good. And give it a tug and a snip, and then it hides down into the body like magic. Hey, she's got one eye. I'm going to do the other eye off camera, and then we're going to do her mouth, and then she is complete. Yay! Alright friends, last but certainly not least, we have our Gracie Doll's lips. I will be using this fingering weight yarn, so I'm just going to pull me off a big piece of this yarn. And my tapestry needle again. Gonna go back to this size. Okay, and then we gotta decide where we want our lips to go. Okay, so I've got my bottom point will be right there. And then my right side is up and over, and then up and over for the left side. And let's start way over here, going into a whole space. A hole. And back out where this guy is. Out. And make sure to leave a tail over here for knotting and hiding like we have been. Next, I'm going to go into this little hole right here. So this is where my tip is going to go into, right where this little stitch is. Then I'm going to come right back out, really close to where my end is down here at the point of my mouth. And then pull it taut. Okay, and then I'm going to go back into this side over here where that needle is and pull it out down here. And that is the basis of what we're going to do for our lips. We're just going to keep doing that back and forth until we get our desired lip shape. It's just kind of like a little V. I usually like to do the same number on each side, but sometimes one side looks fuller than the other and I have to adjust it. So if it's not exactly the same on each side, that's fine. As long as it looks the same on each side, then you'll be good. That's more important than the numbers adding up. This yarn makes a very pretty lip color. Unfortunately, I don't know what it's called. I got it from a shop here in town that went out of business. So when I use it all, I won't be able to get any more. Okay. I think that looks good. You do one more on this side, and then I'm just going to take this one straight across to the other side and end. You don't have to do it this way. I'm just trying to get the shape that I like for her lamps. Into the lip, back out over here where I started. Then I'm going to knot and hide my tail on this side. And then she is finito. I hope you guys love this pattern. I cannot wait to see all of the Gracie dolls you guys make. I've been getting a ton of compliments on these so far. A lot of people are asking me if I'm going to be selling the finished dolls and all that good stuff. So I hope that they are a hot item in your crochet business and you sell a bunch of them and make a whole bunch of kiddos happy with their new Gracie dolls. I did create a freebie to go with this pattern, so if you are on my email list, you've probably already got the freebie, but if you are not on my email list, you can sign up through the link in the description below, and it will be sent to you automatically. For this doll, the freebie is an adoption certificate. But this one is special because it comes with a blank doll on the certificate that can be colored in by the recipient. It does have a doll over here that's like a coloring sheet that the recipient can just color in to look like the doll they received. You can get this for free by signing up to my email list in the description. It will be sent to you automatically. If you guys make a Gracie doll, be sure to tag me at A Crafty Concept on social media. I would love to see it. I have made probably 20 of these guys already. It is addicting to see the different color combinations come to life and to see the little personalities that each doll has. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for these 3 very long videos. This is my first time doing a crochet pattern like this, and it's my first time seeing a crochet pattern like this. So if you have ever seen one that is assembled this way before, let me know in the comments because I'd love to check it out. And if this is the first time seeing a crochet pattern like this as well, I hope that you love it and find it easier than potentially sewing on limbs to a crochet amigurumi piece. I'm going to stop blabbing now and let you guys go crochet. I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for hanging out.